Hi everyone, welcome back to Brookdale Farm. Well, today it's time to start going through the spray boom and doing all the maintenance to that. There was a couple of things that went wrong with it last year, which gave it a bit of a hard time, so we've got to fix all of them up and just check and make sure everything's working. Sprayers are a nuisance, but if you do your maintenance and keep all your filters working properly, things will go much better for you. Now, if we start up the front on this piece here is supposed to be on this bolt here. And while I was spraying last year, it fell apart. Somebody's had a number of goes at fixing this over the years. It's been welded. That doesn't really work very well because it needs to be able to pivot. The nuts come off it at some stage, and then this bracket here has bent enough for this to jump off the top. I chained it back on because I had half a tank of spray and I needed to get that out. So we're going to pull all of this out. We're going to straighten this out, put a new bolt in. We've got to go through and check all the hoses. There's a few hoses that have got issues. Unfortunately, last year when I was doing some maintenance to it, it rolled backwards and jackknifed on the sprayer in front, and it's bent this little bit. So we'll straighten that out. And then we just need to go through the boom and make sure all the sprayers, spray nozzles are working and all of that sort of thing. There's another up on the wheels there. They've always been kicked in a little bit since I got it. We're going to fix that as well. So it should be all ready to go. Usually the first time this gets used is doing a bit of contract spraying for the neighbour, and it's never a great look when it all falls apart on the first job down at the neighbour's place. So I'm going to open this up now so that we can get at everything a bit more easily, and we're going to get going on fixing it all up. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get this tow hitch out so we can repair it. It's just held up by this chain at the front here, and there's a single bolt down the back there that we've got to undo, and then that should just come out. Okay, so if we have a look down at this piece, we've got this bolt here which is welded in that will need to be cut out. There is quite a bend in here, and that should be straight. This piece under here, it's been broken and welded a couple of times. I've re-welded it once too. Somebody's welded something inside there to try and strengthen it up, and a bit more on the outside here. So probably I'm going to try and get a heavier wall piece of pipe to make that, to remake this piece. I can't put a brace any further on here because the when the boom folds up, it comes right up to that weld there. So it puts a fair amount of pressure on it, and that's why it's broken there. Looks like we've also got a crack in the weld under here. So yeah, we'll take this all apart, or cut it apart, and get some new pipe and bits and pieces to weld into it. Okay, so we've got these two bends in here, and they're quite close to where the pipes join together, which is going to make it a little bit tricky. But we're actually going to use a pipe bender on there to straighten this out. We've got a bit of wind noise today, I'm sorry. We've got the equinox gales here at the moment, and so they're going to be blowing for another week or so. So it ended up turning out quite well. It's nice and straight now. This will make it much easier when we come to folding it up and unfolding it, because when it's bent in it tends to jam on other things. Okay, so for this drawbar here I couldn't actually find another piece of pipe the right size, and somebody has put some strengthening in here. It's a solid rod, and they've welded it in up this end. And I actually couldn't slide this piece off to see what was in there. It goes a fair way down and it's fairly solid in there. So we've just re-welded it back together. We've straightened this piece out and put a new bolt in. So that should keep us going for a bit longer yet. So next is to try and feed this piece of bar back into the frame here. So both the suspension struts are slightly bent on this. This bar here should be down a little bit, but it's been bent up, which tips the wheels in. This makes it awkward when we're folding it up and unfolding it as well, because none of the geometry works quite right. So what we've got to do, there's a split pin in here that we've got to take out, just because that gets in the way of my piece of pipe. We're going to jack it up under this point here. We're going to put a piece of pipe on here and we're just going to hopefully be able to just bend it down a little bit. Okay, that looks 100 times better. The wheel is far more square to the ground now. This will make it much easier when we come to twisting the wheels with this lever up here when we are folding the boom up for transport purposes. The spray lines that we are using on our sprayer are called wet booms. That's these bits along here. Now you can either get a wet boom or a ordinary type boom. The ordinary type boom, this is flexible rubber spray hose, and the jets have a barbed fitting on them that just push on, and then the jets bolt onto your main frame. On the wet booms, this is actually a piece of plastic pipe, and the jets clamp onto the pipe, and the pipe bolts onto your boom. Now, we're a little bit short down here where we broke some, so our line finishes here. We need to make up this last bit to go on here. So to fit the jets onto our boom, what we need to do is line the tang up with the hole, and they're quite a tight fit. Push them in and just put this screw in. So one of the advantages with this style of jet is that if you hit it on a rock or something and damage the nozzle body, it's very easy to just undo that screw and change the nozzle body with a new one. You can get stainless steel line as well, but that's a lot more expensive, which is why I'm not using it. With the plastic line, I often find if I hit the jet on something, it will damage the line as well. So it's not quite such an advantage with the plastic line. To fit the boom, it's just a matter of putting a bit of thread tape on your threads here. Screwing it onto the end of the old boom. And then we've got a couple of saddle clamps with some little gutter bolts. Just hold the boom section in place. And the last thing to do is to come along and check and make sure all the jets are working properly. And we don't have any blocks. We've got a bit of a leak up here on our cam lock fitting. That's on that hose clamp there. So we'll come back and tighten that up. Everything else looks like it's working pretty well. Anyway, I hope you found this little video interesting. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.